Hi, my name's Kim J and I'm a visually impaired chef. I'm also a volunteer for the visually impaired charity RNIB. Now today I'm going to show you how to make Jeera chicken. Now Jeera is Indian word for cumin. It's a very easy recipe. You could have this chicken as a main course or you could have it as a starter. It works really well, very easy to make. The ingredients you're going to need for this Jeera chicken is chicken, obviously. Now I've got 1 kilogram of chicken drumsticks here. You can use breasts, but I'm making this dish today for a dinner party, so chicken drumsticks are great as a starter. You will need approximately 40 grams of freshly cut coriander, approximately 100 grams of butter, 3 green chilies, which I'm going to chop very finely, 3 cloves of garlic, again I'm going to chop very finely, approximately 500 millilitres of double cream, 500 grams of Greek yogurt, salt, chili powder, turmeric, and of course you're going to need cumin seeds. Now we as Indians, we tend to like cumin seeds. It's a very earthy and musky smell to it and taste to it, but not everyone likes to have seeds when they're eating this chicken, so you can substitute it if you wish for cumin powder. You're also going to need dried fenugreek leaves. Now this is optional. If you can get hold of it, a tablespoon of this in the dish lifts it slightly. If you can't, don't worry about it. I've also got tandoori powder and garam masala and a little bit of vegetable oil, and these are my ingredients for this recipe. On the hob I've got a large wok here. You can have a large saucepan, big enough to be able to take all the ingredients and the chicken. Now into that I'm going to put the butter. Now if you want to stay healthy, you can cut the quantity of the butter down, but as this is it's a dinner party and I want the flavours to be rich and creamy, I'm going to put the butter in. I'm also going to put in about a tablespoon of vegetable oil. Now what the vegetable oil will do, it will stop that butter from burning. Now people always ask me, how can you cook when you can't see properly? And I do it by the smells and the sounds, and I can hear that butter bubbling away in the saucepan. So I'm going to turn the heat down to a minimum, and now I'm going to put a tablespoon of the cumin seeds in. If you don't want cumin seeds in, you can put a tablespoon of cumin powder and give it a stir. Now that I can smell the cumin seeds, I'm going to put my chicken in there. Now be very, very careful because that fat is hot, so you don't want it to splatter. So very gently put the chicken in there. And I've got it on a gentle heat because what I don't want to do is to cook that chicken too fast. Now I'm going to put in the garlic and the chilies. Now if you don't like a lot of heat, omit the chilies or half it. It's up to you. This is your dish. Make it the way you want it. And I'm going to put a small handful of that coriander. And now I'm going to cook this chicken for about 10 minutes and just very gently saute it with all those spices and the coriander. And already it's only been in the pan for a few minutes and I can smell the coriander and the cumin. This chicken has been slowly pan fried for about 10 to 15 minutes and I can smell the cumin and the coriander and the garlic, and it is delicious. Now I'm going to add in some of the spices. Now the first thing I'm going to add in is about half a teaspoon of tandoori powder, half a teaspoon of garam masala, if you've got the dried fenugreek leaves, about 3 tablespoons worth. Again, it's optional if you can't find it, so don't worry about it. And I've got the cumin powder, about a tablespoon's worth I'm going to put in a tiny handful of fresh coriander, and I'm going to cook that now for 5 minutes, just to let those spices infuse into that chicken. I've cooked the chicken for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to put the other spices in. About 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric, the same amount of chili powder, less if you don't want it hot, more if you do, and about 3/4 to a teaspoon of salt. Give it a bit of a stir. Now, if this was a main course, I would be using all of the Greek yogurt and the double cream. But because I'm doing it as a starter, I'm only going to use half of it. Because the starter, you want the chicken to be more drier. So in it all goes. And now I'm going to let that cook and simmer on a low heat for another 10 minutes. And as I stir, and those that can see or have colour, that sauce should be turning a lovely shade of yellow. I cooked the chicken on the hob for 20 minutes. Now if you're going to do a starter, take out just the drumstick with a little bit of sauce, put it on a baking tray into the oven at 200 degrees Celsius for approximately 25 minutes, just to sort of go a lovely golden brown, and it is perfect as a starter or even on a buffet. But if you want it as a main course, you've got that lovely, thick, rich, creamy sauce full of the earthy, aromatic flavours of the turmeric and the garlic and the coriander and obviously of the cumin. A very delicious recipe, very easy to make as you've seen, and well worth trying. Now you have a recipe for a great dish, but when you're in the kitchen there are certain safety guides and rules that you should adhere to, and which keeps you safe. Now, one of the things that I do before I start cooking is I make sure that I've got shoes on that are sturdy with good grips. I make sure that there's nothing on the floor that I can trip over, and there are no spillages or liquid or condensation on the floor that makes it a bit of a hazard. Now, before cooking, the first thing that you do, as we all know, is wash our hands thoroughly. And especially when you're dealing with raw meat at every stage, wash your hands thoroughly. It stops cross-contamination. It keeps you and your family safe. When you're using the oven and the hob, know your oven and hob really well. Now, I use tactile markings so that I know exactly what temperature to put the oven on and what setting, so that I've not put the grill on when I should be putting the oven on. Now, with the hob, whenever you're sort of putting anything on the hob, make sure the handle is not sticking out. Now, I like to keep the handle at approximately 10 to 12. And the reason for that is it's not near enough to the unit for you to accidentally knock it off. It is not over another hob which may be on, so the handle's getting hot. So this is the safest position. Now, if you're boiling anything, be very, very careful. Don't fill the pan up too much. And if possible, use the boiler alert, which tells you when that liquid is bubbling away and it's hot, and it keeps you safe. If you're not comfortable with the hob and the oven, use the microwave whenever you can. It's a lot safer. And every time you are taking things out of the oven or from the microwave, because remember, plates and dishes get extremely hot in the microwave, use oven gloves. Now, I like to use thermal oven gloves. They're a lot safer. Don't be tempted to use tea towels or anything else. And they literally go to extreme temperatures, so you're very safe with them. Whenever you cut any food in the kitchen, use safe cutting methods. Keep the blade away from your fingers, so set it a couple of millimeters away from your fingers, and that way you're safe all the time. Now, if you're not confident with a knife, you can use appliances like food processors. Make sure you know how they work properly, and keep safe. And if you're still not confident, ask somebody else to do it. It is better to be safe than have an injury. If you have any cuts or you cut yourself whilst you're in the kitchen, put a plaster on it, and if you have a burn, run it under cold water, and if it's bad, you seek medical advice straight away. Whenever you cook meat, always ensure that the meat is thoroughly cooked, because you know raw meat will give you food poisoning. Now, the best optimum temperature to cook meat is between 66 degrees and 73 degrees. Use a food thermometer if you're not too sure. They do have talking food thermometers, which you can get quite easily. And you store the meat as soon as you can. As soon as it's cooled down, store it straight away in the fridge, and read the advice on storage on the labels.